All right, let's dive right into the fascinating mechanics that literally drive everything we buy. Today, we're moving from high-level market theory straight down to the physical factory floor to decode the real engine of supply. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the foundation and the law of supply, then we'll head straight down to the factory floor to calculate total cost, average cost, and finally, marginal cost. Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, the foundation of supply. We're looking at stock versus supply. You know, people often use the words stock and supply like they mean the exact same thing, but in economics, totally different. Picture this. A farmer harvests a massive pile of mangoes, let's say 4,000 kilograms. That entire harvest? That's the stock. It's potential supply. But if that same farmer only brings 1,000 kilograms to the actual market to sell at, say, 40 rupees a kilo, well, that 1,000 kilos is your true supply. So, the big takeaway here is that supply is a flow concept. It's not just a static pile of goods collecting dust in the back of some warehouse, right? True supply only really exists when it's tied to three very specific things: a specific price, a specific quantity, and a specific time frame, like a day, a week, or a month. Moving right along to Section 2, the law of supply. Let's see how price dictates quantity. Way back in 1890, Professor Alfred Marshall laid down this cardinal rule. Assuming things like weather and technology just stay constant, check out this direct relationship. At a super low price of 10 rupees, only 100 kilos are supplied. But if you bump that price all the way up to 50 rupees, the quantity supplied jumps to 500 kilos. It's a huge difference. And when we actually plot those numbers out, we get this really clear upward sloping line. It visualizes Marshall's law perfectly, showing us that higher prices absolutely incentivize sellers to offer more, while lower prices, well, they result in less. All right, on to Section 3, the factory floor, where we'll look at total cost. So what actually determines if a business can afford to supply goods at those market prices? Well, we have to step onto the factory floor to find out. Here, the business owner faces two harsh financial realities. First, you've got this heavy lease check for the building rent, plus heavy machinery depreciation. Even if the factory output is absolutely zero, this bill doesn't change one bit. That's your fixed cost. But as soon as that assembly line restarts, you've got raw material orders and worker overtime hours piling up. That secondary expense climbs higher with every single new product made. And those are your variable costs. Ultimately, both of these expenses completely merge into one massive financial box known as total cost. It's literally just the sum of all your fixed and variable costs combined together. TC equals TFC plus TVC. Next up, Section 4, breaking down average cost. Now, staring at one massive total cost number doesn't really help a factory manager figure out how to price just a single box. To find that baseline, imagine using a digital calculator to take that huge total cost box we just talked about and divide it evenly by the total number of items rolling off the assembly line. Doing that gives you the exact expense incurred per unit, which we call the average cost. Let's put some real numbers to this, okay? If your total cost to produce 40 units is 800 rupees, you simply divide 800 by 40. That means your average cost per unit is exactly 20 rupees. Knowing this baseline is absolutely vital if you want to set a sustainable price. And finally, Section 5, the extra unit, also known as marginal cost. Total and average costs are great baselines, for sure, but there's this one highly dynamic metric that dictates the hardest business decisions. What happens when we push the factory to do just a little bit more? Imagine our factory has completed exactly 100 boxes, but then the manager decides to produce just one single extra unit, the 101st box. A cost tracker would highlight a sharp incremental addition made to the total cost framework solely to create that specific extra item. That spike right there, that's the marginal cost. So if the total cost of producing 4 units was 200 rupees, but pushing the factory to produce 5 units cost 250 rupees, well, we can clearly see that the 5th unit, isolated all on its own, cost exactly 50 rupees to make. That is your marginal cost formula perfectly in action. By understanding these internal metrics, your fixed, variable, average, and marginal costs, we really pull back the curtain on the true engine of market supply. It's not just some abstract lines on a graph. It's literal math happening on the factory floor every single second. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought to end on. How do your own daily purchasing decisions unknowingly trigger these precise marginal cost calculations across the globe?